Alright, we are getting back into it with the Helldivers 2 GP-20 Ultimatum. So last time we mostly worked on this handle guard here, so I think we'll finish this up and then we'll start the main body. So we got a little bit going on over here. Let's find out what that looks like. Looks like it goes inward and it's kind of steppy, not very rounded. So, let's go over here, and in faces mode, I think we're going to, it's got that step there. So let's go ahead and subdivide here with these two guys, and I'm going to drag this down with GZ, put it a little lower. I'm going to go into vertices mode so we can see our vertice. We'll go a little lower down here. And then I think we'll subdivide these two. Let's do that twice. And then we'll select these edges. Let's go medium point for our pivot point. We'll hit S, Y. We'll stretch this out a bit. And then select this face that we just made. And we'll hit E to extrude. And we got that. And then we can subdivide this again to create this. And then let's go into vertices mode with 1, GZ. We'll put that down here. Then we'll take this face again, extrude with E. I'm going to right click GX, pull it straight ahead, and let's get a better idea of what that looks like. Doesn't look like there's anything going on with it. Just kind of looks like a rounded a bit there. Okay, so that's no problem. So I guess we can subdivide these two in edges mode, and then I'll go into vertices mode, drag this guy down, and then I think we'll take this face, we'll hit E, right click GX to pull it forward, and then we'll bevel this edge a bit. Let's Control Z, let's get X-ray view on up here, and then bevel that edge to be on here. And then we'll take this edge and move it manually GZ and around here or so. Let's see if that moves in at all. It doesn't. It looks like all this is on the same plane. So let's go ahead and subdivide these two edges. In edge mode, then we'll go into vertices mode, GZ, just lift that up a wee bit. We'll take this face, extrude with E, right click GX, put this over here, and it looks like it bevels a little bit once more. So let's get that going, and we'll take this bottom edge here and pull it back with GX. It's hard to tell where that is, but we'll just put it there. And I think that completes the guard. Do we want to mess around with these little details like this? Oh, right, and there was this opening over here that I personally do not like. I think it'll actually weaken the prop a bit to have this just negative space in here. But it is there, so I guess we need to put it in. So let's get this face, or let's turn off X-ray mode for a moment, and let's figure out what that looks like. So it's widest at the top. It's like a, not a pentagon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Has 6 sides. How do we want to do that? Okay, so we'll Shift D. So we duplicate this bit, this face here. Medium point is our pivot point, so I'm going to scale it down some. I really don't like that shape, but alright. Let's make this edge into an axis by going up to going up here and then hitting plus. Now we have it down here, so now we can move up and down here. So what I'm going to do with that is bevel these edges. Just get two of them. I think let's bring it down a bit. See what that looked like again. Looks like it comes in a bit more severely than what I have here. How is that? So widest, then thin, then really thin. I really don't want to thin it out too much because that would sacrifice durability. And these parts are already quite thin. Let's examine here. That's only 4 millimeters. So putting holes in things just doesn't sit well with me. But it is there. Maybe we'll just make it a smaller hole. Let's drag that down with GY. And we'll try to put it in the center so it's not weakening these outer edges too much. So I'm going to hit GMZ to pull it out just a bit. I think. And then let's hit P, separate selection, so it's our own thing. Then we'll go into edit mode with this guy, and then control left click with that one. I'll hit this face, and I'll hit Shift 7. That way our camera orients to make that face that we selected flat, or at least we're looking at it dead on, flat on. So I'm going to hit Mesh, Knife Project, and then we're going to cut through. See how we did there. That looks really terrible. I'm not sure why. Let's Control Z. Let's try recalculating in normals. I hit A with this in edit mode. Shift N, recalculate those normals. Let's see if that helps. Shift 7, and then we will mesh, knife project, cut through. It's still very, very awkward for some reason. It may be because these are in the way. So we could, let's go in X-ray mode. Let's hide all of this stuff. Maybe even this might be getting in the way. Get back in here. Let's get our face back. And then control, left click. Come on. Gimme. There we go. Alright, and then that face, Shift 7. Still, let's hide that guy. Our trigger. Shift 7. Let's try this again. Knife project. No, they're selected. Oh. Deselected that guy. Come on. Control. Shift 7. Mesh. Knife project. It still doesn't look good. At least we have the shape, though. We can work with this, even though it came out very awkwardly for unknown reasons. Okay, so let's just complete the shapes here. Clicking on the two edges and then hit F. Not sure what's going on there. Let's get snap on, and then we'll just snap this guy over here. Click on those two, F. Let's turn on auto merge. So when we snap it, it merges with that. Don't need multiples. There. there, and now they're all merged into one, except for you. It's just floating. Merge, merge, merge. It's fine. F, and let's get rid of these faces. Yeah, only face. Alright, we don't need a face in there. So a face there. Let's get this. Get rid of that face. I don't need that edge. And let's fill in these faces just by clicking on these edges and hitting F. 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 And then for this one, let's bridge these edge loops. So selecting both of those edge loops, we're going to hit right click and then bridge edge loops. And now we have our hole that's going through that bit for whatever reason. All right. So now I think that does it for most of that. I mean, we could add these little details in here. And, maybe we go ahead and do that. So I guess this is kind of a little pill-shapey bit. So I'm going to shift right click to get our 3D cursor over here. And then I'm going to hit shift A, bring up mesh. We're going to get a circle. Let's say that's 3 millimeters, probably not even that. R to rotate. R to rotate along the x-axis. Oh, right, we're still using this edge. Let's go back to global, and then RX, there we go. And then I'm holding control to get our degrees to go in 5-degree increments. Get 90 degrees. We'll scale this guy down. Let's get him over here. And then we'll get rid of this side. And then we'll switch our pivot to 3D cursor. So I'll shift D to duplicate this part. And then we'll right click, mirror vertices across the Y. Okay, maybe not. Let's turn off auto merge. And then right click, mirror vertices along the X. There we go. That's what we wanted. Okay, so now we have our little pill form here. And we'll pull this out just a little bit. And then we'll knife project by getting this guy in edit mode. I might as well just do this for all of them. So let's get this guy, edit mode, shift D to duplicate. And I think this one is a little slimmer. So we'll shrink that with S for scale and then X to scale along the X-axis. And then we'll shrink it down just a wee bit. Let's go into individual origins and then rotate, R for rotate. And we got 35 degrees rotation on that one. So it should go on that flat surface, so that should be fine. And let's get this one, Shift D to duplicate, and we'll turn snap off. And let's put it over here. And we'll worry about that one later. So we're still on this handle, and I guess we have kind of a squarey shape over here. So let's get our 3D cursor with shift right click. Then we'll get a plane. Let's say this is 1 millimeter. Let's rotate along the x-axis, so with R and then X, and then we'll rotate 90 degrees. We'll enlarge it with the SZ to scale along the Z-axis. That should be fine, I think. Let's pull this out a little bit away from it. And I think that's it for the handle. We could just use painter's tape to paint this yellow triangle on there. So I'm going to go in edit mode for a handle, and then control left click for our shapes that we just made, and then we'll go into mesh, knife project, and we will indeed cut through. That way we get the shapes on both sides. What happened here? Oh, they're still hidden. Let's go control Z. Yeah, that's fine. Before we did the knife project, and I'm going to go here and hit Alt H to unhide all the faces we hid while we were making our cut over there. And then we'll get our shapes back with control left click. There we go. And we're good, we're good, we're good. Mesh, knife project this time should be fine. Okay, so we're not going to need those anymore. Let's hide those. Well, let's name them first. Say, handle shape cutter. Maybe add pill shape cutter. Okay, hide that. Now we can adjust these little guys. Let's orient ourselves and then go to X-ray mode and then face mode with 3 on the num strip. So I'm going to be able to click right through these to get both faces on both sides of our handle. Oop. A little much. Both sides, so we got both sides there, and then let's go to median point for our pivot, and then we'll hit S for, E, right click, and then S for scale, Y, and then we'll just go in just a little bit, and now we've indented our shapes into our thing. How far did we go here? 0.3 millimeters. That should be visible, I think, when we print these out, hopefully. Otherwise, we're just wasting time here. I'd feel a little more comfortable if it was just a little deeper. So I'm going to hit S for scale, Y, and then maybe go up to 0.5. Just to make sure those details actually show up. I think that should do it for the handle for now. So let's continue on. Now I'm thinking how I'm going to print this guy. I was thinking this would be flat on the bed, the top, and it would have to print support in here, which sucks, but there's not really any flat surfaces that would be good for the printing. And I'm thinking maybe these will extend into the main body just to give it a nice flat area and some strength, so there's not too much stress on this bit here. We'd have it like a ring instead of just connected by this. Still considering. We'd have to do something about this trigger though, and since this doesn't have a part in it, oh, that idea might be a little tricky. Let me consider here. If we collected all of these bits, this one doesn't have a face. Let's get rid of this edge, and then collect all these. Maybe we can get rid of these edges for now. And then we have this edge loop, and then we have this edge loop. And since it does seem to widen a fair bit from the handle, that should give this idea to make some additional supports a little more feasible. But at the same time, we don't want to block any of this because this is where all the firing mechanisms and stuff are going to be. So just maybe a little slot. That'll give us some more surface area to glue these parts together. I think that would be good. So in order to connect these two bits, then we're gonna go ahead and subdivide here twice. I'm gonna line these up by turning snap on. We'll GY snap that to that. GY snap that to that. I guess we should have subdivided these as well. Actually, this one subdivide twice, and then we'll snap these over here, snap these over here, and let's subdivide over here as well. These, and let's snap those to this one here, snap that to this one here. Okay, let's clear out this face, put this one back, clear out these two faces, and now we'll bridge these edge loops. Bridge edge loops. So we got that. These edge loops. So those should go straight across, not interfering with the trigger. These would go inside, so maybe the trigger could actually... Let's get that guy back up. It's kind of awkwardly shaped. We need it to at least go over here. But could we suck it in and make it go over here so we can make this a more solid platform? So the trigger does need to be kind of sturdy for what we're planning. So I guess at the very least we'd need this area. So let's collect these edges here. We'll subdivide. Let's go in X-ray mode. Take these. Push these back over here. Let's snap it in front of there. And then push it a little further over. So 3.33, let's make that 2.5. So the trigger still has plenty of room to move around. Turn off X-ray mode, and then we'll fill this area in. That should add at least a little more strength. It feels diagonal for some reason. Is it? Let's see. Well, it is straight. It's going up though. It is going up though. Okay, so this should be on a flat plane all its own. In order to balance this out, let's hit SZ0, and that'll flatten out all those, and then we'll snap them up here. So that should all be flat now. And I want to get rid of these faces in order to seal this up now. Just add some additional strength in this area, which I think we're going to need. What is going on? I think this area is also unbalanced. Yeah. So let's get all these and SZ0, flatten those out, and then snap them to this level so everything's nice and flat. And I think that'll do. Seal these faces up and see what that looks like. These will add some strength, not much, but it'll be better than nothing, rather than putting all the stress of holding these two bits together on this bit here, which is also not very thick or strong. But that should do, and this whole area will kind of tuck into the main, the ultimatum. And all this will be nice surface area to glue all that together. So that should be all right. Okay, and from there, so we're gonna start the body, but with this, it's a little complex. But we'll need to create this recess. That kinda sucks. But Shift D to duplicate. We're gonna hit P, separate selection, and then we're gonna hide our handle, and then we can start here. And then we'll go down a bit. So that's our floor, more or less. And we'll need to pull all of this stuff out enough for that to fit. First thing I'm going to do, I think we're going to go ahead and mirror this. So I think it's going to get a little complex, and I'm pretty sure they're symmetrical on both sides. I don't think there's anything that's on one side that is not on the other. So mirroring should be just fine. And it'll be a new technique I can show. So let's subdivide here, and then we'll take off half of it by selecting these on one side of those middle vertices, and we'll right click, delete those, and then we will, actually we kind of need a center point. We will go into view. Let's put our 3D cursor at 0, 0. By view I mean over here. Can select item, tool, view, and put our 3D cursor in the middle. We can do that for Z2, but it doesn't really matter for this one. And then we'll go to add modifier, generate, mirror, across the Y, and then we'll need to use the 3D cursor. So let's try that again with the 3D cursor selected as our pivot point. Okay, so I think what's going on is that we didn't do the rotation, so I'm going to hit in object mode, with this in object mode, Control A, and scale rotation. And maybe that would fix it. There we go. There we go. So we just want to mirror across the Y. Okay, so now everything we do on one side should affect the other side. Good, so that helps cut down on the labor. Alright, so first things first, let's start stretching these bits out, because in order for the handle to fit in this slot, we're going to need to increase most of the dimensions by 0.5 millimeters. So G, X, 0.5, 19.6 then. Out a little bit. This one will have to go also 19 will be 21, 20.1. And then for this back end, and I guess the front end as well, we'll need to go G, Y, and that'll be 4.4, so 4.9 millimeters. Okay, so we got that and that. Hopefully it'll be loose enough that we don't have to mess around with these curves too much. G, X, and let's stretch this from 12.9 to 13.4. 0.4. And then we'll pull this one out. GX 13.9. And hopefully that'll fit in there. Let's get our handle back. Should be just a little bigger all the way around. See this top orientation pretty much. I think this front bit needs to be pulled out some more. So GX 1.5 to 2. And I'm holding shift to give me a little more control over those measurements here. Because if you didn't, it would just kind of bounce between them and it would be a little trickier. Alright, so we got that going. Now we can start. Say this is the main, for the main body of our prop. And for this one, looks like we're just going to go back. Let's take this middle point, extrude, right click GX, and we'll go back here. Well, we can go back here and then bevel it. And then we'll hit E to extrude again, right click GY, and let's see how far that goes. Not too far. Not too far. This one goes even closer. Say around here-ish? Maybe just a solid 9. There, and let's see how far up this one goes. Let's get this center vertice. There. Extrude, right click, E to extrude, right click, and then GX, and we'll bring it up here. We can bevel that as well. And then we will match this by snapping it with E, G, Y, and then snap that over here. And let's just see what that looks like. Clicked on both those vertices and hit F to put an edge between them. And that seems a little wide. I don't think it's that much. So that's a GY, bring it in, say to, how close is this? That's 4, say 8. Okay. Alright, and I guess we can just extrude upward. I'm thinking we're going to have to print this separately and then slot it in. Because, this has kind of a curve to it, so it wouldn't be a good spot to print from. I think this rail will have to be printed separately because I think it'd just be too long to do otherwise. So we'd have to make it so it kind of fits in there somehow. So in that case, we'll just bring this up all the way. And let's go ahead and close this off. E to extrude, F on those edges. E to extrude, snap it there, F on these edges. And then we can close that off as well with F. Okay, so we now have our basic shape. And then we can bevel over here to get that little roundy bit. So there. And do the same over here. Right click, bevel, around there. And this could also use some bevel. Right click, bevel edge. Oh, this doesn't have a face yet. Just pop one on there with F. And X-ray mode, bevel edge, there. Now we have the general shape. And it looks like we have some layers down here. So let's see how wide that bit is. And it's almost equivalent to the handle. Maybe we'll just use that as a guide. So let's take these. I think that'll do. And we'll subdivide. And then we'll hit S, Y, 0. Let's go to pivot point, median point, S, Y, 0. And then I think it's just a little smaller than the handle, so we'll put it around here. Up, 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 up. That's what that's gonna be. Then we can extrude here, make that little area. Then we'll extrude again. Right click G, X, pop this over here, and then extrude again, G, right click G, Z, and then we'll snap it back down to the bottom. And then we can subdivide here. Let's turn on auto merge for this and snap those together. So now that's on there like so. And from there, we can start making that same shape over here. Subdivide these two. And then we can use that as a guide to G, X, snap, G, Z, snap. And then we will subdivide this guy. And then G, Z, snap, G, X, snap on that same piece. Now this is no longer needed, I don't think. And let's connect these guys with a face. Gonna want a face in here. And let's go ahead and replenish this, restore this face there. And then we'll take this edge and bevel it like it has there, increasing the... Why is it acting that way? Weird. Let's hit A, Shift and recalculate those normals. Maybe that'll help. And let's get back to beveling this edge. I don't know why you're doing that. Should be exactly the same. Well, if that's how you want to act, seems like it should be fine. But if that's what you want to do, we'll just bevel this one first. So let's bevel that vertice. Why is this acting so weird? Maybe merge is the problem. Let's turn that off. I don't think we're close enough for that to be an issue, but no, still doing it. Is there anything else weird on? That is very strange. I'm gonna hit A, mesh, cleanup, see if there's any... No, there's nothing that needs cleaning up. It should be beveling a lot smoother than that, but it's choosing not to. Let me check this face. Oh, it looks flat enough to me. I don't like that. Hmm. 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 Not entirely sure what the problem is here. Oh, was that the problem? Oh, auto merge was on. So within, what are the parameters for auto merge? Auto merge, if that was within 1 millimeter, they were automatically merging, which is why it was coming out so weird. Okay, so that was on me. But now we can get a much smoother bevel in there. And then we can just Shift D to duplicate that, GY, snap it over here, and then we can just manually select these vertices, close these faces up, and then let's get these guys, edge mode, get rid of the two connecting, right, click, bridge edge loops, and now we have that little area there. And let's get our face back. We can put a face over here as well. Okay, so that's that bit there. And it looks like this bevels also. Mm, I think maybe we bring this down. And then we subdivide over here. Let's get these SZ0 to level them out. And then we'll snap them on the same Z as that. And then it seems like these will go inward a bit. It's hard to tell how much, but something like that. We need to get rid of this face. Let's make a new one using this flat area as a face, and then this diagonal area as its own face. And that'll give us that general shape that we're going for here. And it looks like it's flat. Oh, it's already done that. All right, we're good on that. Let's try to see just how severe a slant that is. I don't think it's too bad. I don't think it's too bad. What about this rail? Is there negative space? There does appear to be negative space. Ugh. I was kind of afraid of that. Because now this rail is going to be kind of fragile. If it was solid, at least it'd have a little more body to it. But if it's cut in two like that, I don't want to make weak props, you know? I don't want to make something that's just going to break on somebody. But we also want to follow the model. So I'm thinking we're going to have to make slots over here in order to fit those in. I wonder if they should be connected at the front and back to help strengthen them, or be printed in two parallel rods and then just stuck in. I like the connected one much more because I think we're sacrificing a lot of strength already. So I think we're going to need a space in here. How do we want to do this? So I think we'll take these, Shift D to duplicate, and then let's get our 3D cursor over here. With this edge selected, I'm going to hit F3 and then cursor to active. And then with our duplicated bits, I'm going to go with 3D cursor as our pivot point, and then I'm going to scale in. Not too much. SZ to scale down a bit. This will be kind of the slot for our rails. Let's see. Let's get rid of this edge. I need to put some new faces in here. Oops. Don't want that. These two. And so it's 0.4. Wow. That's really thin. Let's scale it down just a little bit so we can make it 0.5 at least. And then Shift Z. And this will be the actual rail. So let's hit P, separate selection. So now we have those as individual point. And let's select it. There we go. And I'll make a measuring tool here for now. So we want to go down 0.5. So this will be 2.1. Let's turn off snap. And 2.1. Man, these are really, really thin. This is 2 millimeters. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna look at the calipers. Oh gosh. That does not seem feasible at all. Hmm. Gosh, how is this like this? So let me measure here to make sure we're still accurate in terms of scale. I want this width to be around 40 millimeters. It is not anywhere close to that, so that's probably why the measurements look kind of awkward. Let's take all of our pieces. I think all we had was the handle, the main, and the trigger. I guess we should take everything. Let's unhide everybody. And with everything selected, hit A to select all, and try to find that measurement again. That was what, 13? Wait, what is this 40? 40 millimeter. Why was I only seeing 13 before? Unless this is a different handle. So I think we did create those duplicates when we were doing the Boolean join to make this. So we have those OGs, which, I mean, we don't need all this stuff. We just need to scale those guys more appropriately. Where's the trigger? This should be, what, 10 millimeters wide? Which it is not. Okay, so that's not the proper width. Let's check this. This is also not the proper width. That's why they're coming out so small looking. Okay, with everything in edit mode. Try to get this measurement. And here, once more with everything in edit mode. We'll hit A to have everything. Trying to keep track of this 13. And using our 3D cursor, which we are going to put in the center by making these values all 0. I'm going to scale this back out so it makes more sense. Well, actually, I think if we just get the handle, the OG handle that was the appropriate size. We can use its scale and just apply it to the other parts. Yeah, this should be okay. So let's get everybody else, and then make sure the OG handle is our main thing. And then let's Control A, scale, and see if that helped. Let's rehide OG handle. See where that is. It's still 13. Why is it like that? There's OG handle that reverse things? Yeah, instead of doing that one, it reversed it. That is not what we were going for. So 13. So still 13, but this is the original handle. Where is, or the current handle that we're messing with? Where is that measurement? It's hiding. It's a hiding. There it is. 40 millimeters, so that should be like that. So I guess we have to reverse it, where the handle that we want to scale is an orange. So let's Control A, scale, see if that helped. No, it made them both small again. Why you do that? Okay, OG handle is an orange. Scale. No, they're still small. Hmm. Hmm. Why can't I get the OG's handle to scale to the new handle? Forty scale. Oh. G handle. It doesn't seem to work that way. That's a little frustrating. Okay, if it's gonna do that, then I guess we're just gonna have to do it manually. Most unfortunate. So with this 13.4, we're gonna just scale it up. With S, where is our cursor? It's somewhere in the middle. S and okay, we should get the right size first, because the OG's measuring thing is up here, while the other one is down below. So let's get that over here. Alright. Alright, hiding the OG. And all we want is the trigger, handle, and main. Okay, selecting everything. Gonna go from 14.2 to 40. 21.5. It's 41. 40.5. There. Okay, so everything there has been scaled up. Now the picture also needs to scale up a bit. Should be about there. And now let's check back on this to see if this is more reasonable. 7.7. Well, it's definitely more than 2. It's still freaking razor thin though. So we'll definitely be reinforcing this with some steel rods. Because otherwise it's just gonna snap. Could enlarge this a little bit. Let's just give it that much. And let's take this out over here. I feel like this could go out a bit more. And we don't want to make this wool too thin. That should be okay. And then we'll want to create a recess. We don't need that edge for our rail to go into. So let's make that with GX and say 30 is probably plenty. Yeah, and then our rails. What was this? Right? Ah, we didn't scale that up. That's okay, we can make another one. No big. Shift D to duplicate. P, separate selection. And let's get that. Measuring tool. That's G, Z. Go down, and this is basically 0.8, so 7.5, I think. 7.5. Close enough. And then 7. So that should fit nicely into there. And then we'll move this in with GY. Let's go with 16.3. Okay. Now we can extrude into this area. Let's turn snap on. We can snap it into that recess and then reduce it by 0.5 so it'll slot in there good. GX, going from 30 to 29.5. That way it should fit snugly. And then we'll take this part. We'll go ahead and pull it out. GX, go around there. And we need to split it in half. Let's subdivide here. That way we can create our block that'll fit in here. And let's put it in, tuck it in just a little bit so it's not as visible. And we'll take these edges, not these edges, subdivide. And then we'll take those vertices that we just made. Let's see, do these go straight down or are they also diagonal? I'd say they're straight down just for simplicity. So let's take these S, Y, 0. Oop. Before that, let's go pivot point, median point, S, Y, 0. Then we'll pull this over here with ZY. Let's pull it just over there. Then I think we'll do the slot thing over here too. So Essentially, we'll just make another block over here. That way it has a bit more surface area for us to glue into. And let's say that's going to be 8. Maybe 8.5. Maybe 8.5. And then I'll create another block. And then let's get rid of these edges. So now we have our negative space. I guess it is relatively wide. I think it's a little too wide. So let's take these edges and pull them in just a little bit. Maybe around there-ish. Seems okay. And then we'll fill this in. Fill that in. And that'll be the rail. And we can put little decorations on that, but I think we'll save some of this for next time. Alright, so I'm going to take a little break. And if you don't want to go through all this modeling, I do have the STL files needed to print all of my 3D printable props available to supporters over on my Patreon. We currently have over 40 props available and are adding more all the time. This prop will also be made available once it's finished. So if you'd like to skip the modeling and gain access to an entire armory of 3D printable props, check out my Patreon, link in the description. It is only $5 a month and you gain access to the entire armory of over 40 props. Staying a member ensures you get access to everything new added to the armory immediately and of course, very much helps support the channel. Speaking of supporting, we have to show our gratitude to M. John Simon, a real hero of the channel, supporting at the hero tier. Become a hero to get yourself special mention in these very videos, and as always, like and subscribe to ensure you never miss out on the next video. Until then, I have been Ken with Kenjutsu Bring It to Life, and I am out.